You have been cordially invited to a world of wonder and intrigue, of steam and invention, of magic and mysteries, where nobles wave playbills at scientists who deep in thought nearly trip over pixies delivering news to tinkerers beneath the stage of New Europa. Sit back and enjoy the scene as the actors act, the singers sing, and the players play out the adventures of Castle Falkenstein. You have been cordially invited to a world of wonder and intrigue, of steam and invention, of magic and mysteries, where nobles wave playbills at scientists who deep in thought nearly trip over pixies delivering news to tinkerers beneath the stage of New Europa. Sit back and enjoy the scene as the actors act, the singers sing, and the players play out the adventures of Castle Falkenstein.
Hello! We're live. You'll notice this is a new type of overlay for our Season 3 of Castle Falkenstein. I'll explain a little bit of what's happening and what shenanigans are gonna appear on screen. But first, before we begin, I would like to thank everyone for coming back for Season 3 on this Monday evening. We have new faces. We'll have returning faces. Well, we already have a few returning faces. And we are all ready to delve into whatever drunken shenanigans we're going to get into this time. That said, before we begin, I would just like to thank our sponsors for today's game, starting with Mage and Press, makers of 5th edition D&D supplements. They have a Kickstarter coming out on the 29th of July. It is an adventure that I was lucky enough to be one of the writers of, called Conspiracy in the Stars. It's an introduction adventure to their campaign setting Dark Matter, which is D&D in space, that we've played here for about a year. Next up is Found Familiar, great coffee company. I actually just left my Found Familiar mug downstairs, and I have to go grab it because I can't stream without my coffee. But check them out at foundfamiliar.com and use code WanderingDM if you want to get 10% off your purchases. Next up, our other sponsor is, of course, Castle Falkenstein, our Talsorian Games, makers of Castle Falkenstein. We also stream, we've streamed Witcher here, we ended a few weeks ago, and Cyberpunk Red, which we stream every Friday. So now we're going to have Mondays and Fridays double the Talsorian fun. And our other sponsor that we use, the virtual tabletop that we use here for all of our shows, of course, is Roll20. Check them out at roll20.net or with the panels down below or the links in chat if you're looking for a virtual tabletop to play your games in during quarantine. Roll20 is the place to do. And you'll actually realize, for those of you that are new, Castle Falkenstein doesn't play with dice. We play with playing cards. So this is another thing that you'll see that Roll20 does, is playing cards. You can create your own decks and everything, so you can play with just about any type of cards so long as you can upload them to the virtual tabletop. Lastly, our partners through the Diceomancy program, Level Up Dice, if you want to get some shiny new dice made out of stone, semi-precious stone, or metal. Check them out. They have a bunch of new sets that just released, and they're going to release some more this summer. So you might not want to miss out. Check them out using the purple torch down below. All right, spiel is done for all of the sponsors and everything. Let's delve into this overlay situation for a second. You'll notice that we are all little portraits. All of us. Portraits on a wall. Except for Chris, who's the fancy host and gets to have the gilded portrait frame. But what we'll do, and you'll see the panels appearing over the course of the stream tonight down below the video, but as you help the show and the channel with your donations, with your subscriptions, we will have a little bar that'll go up, and every time the bar goes up, well, some of us, or all of us, depending on what we reach, will get a portrait upgrade. Now, if you look to the overlay, we are now with the level 2. Every time we get a new upgrade, we change the appearance of the portraits all the way up to our ultimate portraits that are so big they overlap each other. But yes, so every time that you want our characters to unlock secrets from their pasts and new abilities and new things, that's how we're going to show on the overlay what it does. And this is the reason why we don't really have room for names. I'm going to try something tonight as we stream, so you might see names pop up and disappear from our faces. But I'm going to try something now that the cameras are all here to have our character names and pronouns displayed on the overlay. So that's enough babble about the technical side of the show. Well, before I hand the mic out to Chris, I think we should just go around the table, introduce ourselves, and tell us who you'll be playing in a few words. And we'll begin with Deirdre, and we're going to go counterclockwise. So we'll do Deirdre, Pooja, Adriana, and myself.
Oh, okay, so that's me. Sorry, y'all. Hi, y'all. You know me. I'm at Deirdre London on Twitter, Prexagorth as Miaforia, as you see me around on Twitch. And tonight I get to be the Contessa Lucrezia Sofia Fioravanti, and I just get to have fun. I'm here to have as much fun as possible.
Hi, I'm Pooja. You can find me on Twitter at Pooja or on Instagram at Poojaberwalkie, and I'm very, very excited to be joining this here wonderful cast. And I will be playing a new character named Elise St. Pierre.
Hi everyone, my name is Adriana. You can find me over on Twitter at Elizavamp, and tonight I will be playing Ekaterina von Stein. Ekaterina, not Katerina, not Catherine. Ekaterina, please. And I'm very excited to be playing with you all.
And I'm Simon at Wandering DM. I'll be playing tonight. What's his face? Edwin Thayer, the professor of criminology, recently invited to Venice. And that's it for all of us. We are missing a Kenny for tonight, but his character will make a grand entrance next week. So to kick off this third season of adventures in Castle Falkenstein, Chris, our illustrious host, who are you, and what else do we need to know before we start this campaign?
Well, thank you, Simon, and welcome, everyone, to Season 3 of Adventures in Castle Falkenstein. What we have before you is an experience. Take a deep breath. Feel the soothing breeze that travels across the Mediterranean Sea. Imagine yourself as you wind your way up the Italian coast to the fair city of Venice. Listen in the night air to the gondoliers as they sing, making their way from fair to fair. Open your eyes, and before you now is the Teatro San Luca, clad in night and song. The house is packed for a special event. The event is the final performance of one Lucia Gramani, who is retiring as... Oh, did we lose it?
Did we lose what?
I got an error.
On Roll20?
Error
Great,
on my
I was
end,
muted.
too.
On Roll20?
No, on
Twitch.
Twitch.
On Twitch? We were green up until 2 seconds ago. But I don't get errors, though. It's
Okay.
just the quality
Error-
of the signal, I guess.
Yeah, error number 2000 here.
Yep.
Same here.
Oh.
Now you can refresh the page. Well,
Frozen, but we're there.
Oh, we're back. I just have to refresh mine.
It should be fine.
did we freeze again?
Oh, dang it. We don't have any errors on our end. Well, on my end anyway, on Streamlabs, I mean. I laptop for about a minute.
We're back.
Are we?
Yeah, it's back on mine. I refreshed.
I see us.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
and we're even synced. It's just Twitch being
Twitchy
Twitchy.
again?
Excellent. Well, as I was saying, the Teatro San Luca is packed for a special event. For tonight marks the final performance of Lucia Gramani, the house's star opera singer, who is retiring tonight. And she is taking her final performance as the one and only Violetta from La Traviata. The city is dark. So is the stage, barely lit. As she performs her final scene, there is not a sound from the house until the lights go out and the performance ends. And this is where we find our cast. In the balcony, row 6, seat 11, Ekaterina has quite a view. In one of the box seats, we see the Contessa, opera glasses and everything. Elise, behind the stage, watching on. Understudy, technically in title, but heir to the opera house in contract. Hoping to capture the hearts of the crowd the way Lucia has left them. And one Edwin Thayer, sitting amongst the crowd, next to one of the professors from the local university, where he is giving a speech, a series of lectures on criminology. The lights come up, and before you, the cast, taking their final bow. What say each of you on this night to be remembered?
Well, the Contessa has quite enjoyed the performance. She has always enjoyed the Prima Donna's performance. Opera is one of her great loves. This was a wonderful tragedy. Violetta and the death scene, wonderful. I was very impressed at how long she could, sing that aria as she's coughing and dying of consumption, and then, you have to hit those notes just the same way. And, the rolling back of her eyes and her face, and it's absolutely fabulous skill.
I'm quite upset that this is her last performance. Has been marvelous. One of the best opera shows I've been to.
And Elise, of course, is so grateful to have the opportunity to study under such a talent. And she hopes that one day she can rule hearts and minds as greatly as Lucia has.
Well, that is why the proprietor brought you over across the pond.
And does Elise know when her chance to be on stage will be? Or is it a next season thing? Or
it'll be the next show, the next opera
show
that comes through. So I shouldn't say the next show. The next show is will be plays or two plays that are rotating, and it'll be the next opera cycle. So about 3 weeks.
So straight into rehearsals for her after tonight.
Pretty much.
So it's a bittersweet moment to watch someone you so admire on stage, but also exciting that that'll be you soon.
Yep. And what about Edwin?
Edwin is enjoying the play. However, there is one teeny little problem. His Italian is not the best. Thayer is well educated and he speaks a lot of different languages, but Italian was the last one he tried to learn, and he's not that great, so he tried his best to follow the opera as best he could.
How is his French?
I don't know. I haven't decided which languages he speaks yet.
But
But knowing where he's from, he speaks English and French. That's for sure.
La Traviata is in French.
Oh, I thought it was in Italian.
Nope.
Well, I'm an idiot.
There you
Let's redo everything.
go.
He loved it.
Well, he may not have understood a single word that the professor next to you kept saying as he continued to interrupt the performance.
But he could at least understand the performance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This just
So-
shows how much my knowledge of opera is.
That's why we have others to fill in the blanks. Ekaterina, you're here for a purpose. What is that purpose? You're here to meet someone, yes? No?
No.
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
Hmm.
I've gotten a little bit of a whiff that there's a project going on, and I've come to meet someone to get more details on it.
Yes. And in front of you, slightly to your right, is one, or was, one Willoughby. Now gone from the seat. You think during the applause, when everyone stood up and you were gazing down upon the stage, that they disappeared. But in their seat lay an envelope with a wax seal.
Interesting. Well, if it has no owner, then I will go and pick it up.
It seems to have no owner. It seems to have been left, potentially for you, as it is marked with an EV.
I do like games. What do I see once I break open the seal and open up the letter?
You open up the envelope, and inside you find yourself two things. A card, except it's more like a postcard. It doesn't fold over. It's heavy stock. It has embossed, gold embossed lettering on it in Latin, and a skeleton key.
Ooh, the plot thickens. Is that all that there is in this envelope? No
That's
letter.
the two letters inscribed on the front and the seal that you opened.
Interesting. Would I have any knowledge of what this seal means?
That's a good question. What skill would you like to use to try and recall what seal it is?
Let's see. I can read real quick. Maybe a connections.
Sure. What is your base connections?
It's the base. I believe it's all right.
Is it good? Is it average?
It's average.
Average? Fair enough. So that's a base 4. Would you like to play a card to augment it? Any spade will do. Or would you like to play just straight from your gut instincts?
I'll play a card.
Okay. Let's go ahead and pull one from your hand that was dealt to you. and set it on that purple felt that's in roll 20. Oh, that's clubs.
Hmm.
Do you have a spade? I will try and return this to you. I think you can pick it back up, potentially.
I can move it.
I think if you right click on it, there's an option to recall, but I'm not sure.
There we go.
Okay.
So, am I supposed to be able to see the hands that were dealt to me?
You should be able to see all of the cards that were dealt to you.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I
Oh,
can
here
fix
we
that.
go.
Yep, it's the little cards above your avatar.
No, I do not have a. I do not have a club. A
Fair,
spades.
fair enough. You can play one of any suit and gain 1 point, bumping it to 5, or you can augment it with some part of your backstory or history as to where Ekaterina may have been that helped her with things like secret society symbols or coat of arms or that sort of thing.
I'll play one card.
Okay.
So I'll play.
Okay, the 6, we have a 6 there.
Mm-hmm.
It is clubs, it is offsuit, so that is 1 point for you.
Mm-hmm.
However, has Ekaterina been to Britain in the last 50 years?
I would say so. She travels quite often.
It feels familiar and it reminds you of somewhere in the UK. You're not 100% sure, but there is, I don't know, something British about its assemblage. It has that sort of plain and rigid markings. Not the flourishing that you would normally see from France or Italy, and definitely not the stark contrasts that you would find in Prussia or Austria, but more of a British feel.
She'll take the envelope and she'll hold it up, inspect it, take a look at the seal real close to her sunglasses, sniff it, lick it. British. All right. Then she'll put it in her jacket pocket.
So, do you have a science skill?
I do.
Do you have natural sciences, perchance?
I do.
What is it at?
Good.
Good. It's definitely British when you lick it. You can tell by the type of paper that was used. This was not local. It's definitely not anywhere from around the Mediterranean. It is much more Northern Europe, but most likely Britain. Just something about the weave of the paper and whatnot. So
interesting. She'll just tuck the envelope into her jacket pocket.
Okay. And where do you head next? Do you go to greet the the players that were on stage, or do you wish to mingle, or are you looking for Fair Willoughby somewhere?
I am looking for Fair Willoughby.
Okay. So, as Ekaterina moves through the crowd, searching for their Willoughby, let's move behind the stage. The curtain came up, bows were had, the curtain came down again. And people start to make their way off stage. Lucia, who you know to be quite taxed by such a performance, doesn't say much and kind of quickly moves her way toward her dressing room, as she is wont to do. She does not really come across as the friendly type until she's had at least 10 or 15 minutes to gather herself before she's going to go out and meet the crowd. which is what she's focusing on at this time. She also would like to change out of the dressing gown that she is in for the play and into something much more fitting of her finale as the prima donna here at San Luca. What else would Elise like to do?
Elise, of course, would like to congratulate everybody on wonderful performances and start. I'm assuming as an understudy, she also helps out backstage a little bit more than those on stage. So she will, of course, help take all the flowers and bouquets and other appreciative gifts, which today there are many of, for Lucia back to her dressing room. And generally, you can tell she's made herself quite known in these parts. She has a friendly smile or nod or word for almost everyone she sees. But she's getting ready, of course, because she knows that tonight would be a big night to meet potential donors and patrons and other supporters. So once her backstage chores are done, she will make her way out to the crowd to see what kind of just the rubbing elbows and hobnobbing that's expected of her.
Yeah, excellent. So as you go about doing your business and collecting all of the gifts and such that have been tossed on stage for the prima donna, you find yourself a little alone. On stage, you do have a few people sweeping up, but being it's such a momentous occasion, in reality, many of them have kind of snuck away to kind of watch and see Lucia greet the crowd that came to this final performance. Some of them have been whispering in the last week or so about her not really wanting to retire and that the proprietor had kind of forced her hand. And others had said things more along the lines of it was her choice and she's, moving off to Turkey. Her husband's business is thriving there, and she is going to open her own opera house in Constantinople. However, the truth lay somewhere in between. And what you know of the proprietor, one Faustina Scarletti, is that they are quite the shrewd business person. They negotiate fairly but firmly. They do not look to, how do I say, indulge anything that would make the opera house go under. But at the same time, they don't see their actors and singers and even stagehands as replaceable. What you are offered with passage and whatnot is quite fair for the opportunities that you had seen. You have room and board, all taken care of. And your main goal is to find patrons who will bring in money. And after a certain point even, that money will be kicked back to you. So, you might be a little skeptical. You might buy into those rumors. But suffice it to say, it's not bad blood in any way, shape, or form, but maybe some drama between the two. The proprietor is once known as being quite the prima donna themselves, with a voice that is said to have not only sung their way into the hearts of many, but also shattered the hearts of their enemies.
Impressive.
What if that is true? Who knows? But the stories are fun nonetheless, right?
Mm,
And patrons love good stories.
of course.
As you take everything back to Lucia's dressing room, you'll notice working under the stage, two dwarves amongst the other crew. You've seen them before, and they've introduced themselves, and you've known them as Bricks and Swizzle. That's the names that they've chosen to go by. They are very handy. Everything that has moving parts in this house runs without a hitch. Those things that don't have moving parts, they have a tendency to be much less interested in and leave to everyone else, unless they absolutely have to. And you see them working under the stage on something that wasn't there before, and you think it might actually be for the next show that they're already prepping and putting together, which is kind of impressive because no clanking of metal, though they are clearly working with different gears and rods and pistons and putting something together under there. But they have not allowed it to echo out into the crowd that is receding. As
How
you approach,
curious.
yeah, and as you approach the door, do you knock? Do you leave them outside? Do you let yourself in? What has been your habit? What has Lucia asked of you?
Well, in the past, I would knock on the door twice to just not startle her, but then I don't expect her to get up in the middle of whatever costume changing she might be into. So she knows to expect me here or another member of the stage crew, if not me. So I do that. I knock twice and I open the door.
Excellent. And there you are. Knock twice. Open the door. And there's Lucia, getting ready in one of her best gowns. One of the other ladies helping her change as quickly as they can. But as you know, those gowns do not put themselves on very quickly without help. You can see in the reflection in the mirror as she's adjusting her makeup that her eyes are a little teary. She doesn't look as though she's been crying per se, but she is definitely overwhelmed by the moment and the magnitude of it in some way, shape, or form. Where in her dressing room would you like to place that which was cast upon the stage for her?
In the side of the room, there's a long table, which is where customarily the presents would go. You would see, I'm sure there's some leftover flowers from the performance before too. Of course, not the incredibly nice ones, but the more standard fare you might find in a stall outside the opera. So I put the presents there, and I do make eye contact with her in the mirror, and I say, that was an astounding performance, but not as astounding as I'm sure you will look outside in that fetching gown.
She gives you a soft smile and says, "Dear Elise, you are as kind as your words. Thank you."
It is but my pleasure and my honor.
Well, I must be off. And the woman lacing up her gown hurries to get the last few through as she starts to leave. And it takes about 10, 15 steps outside the door before the stagehand that was helping her kind of stops and takes a deep breath and goes, "That was close." As Lucia makes her way around the side through to the front for the, I forget what that's called, the line that they will do sometimes out front of the theater to greet the patrons as they exit.
Oh, yeah. The backstage.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a visiting line, but it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, I just can't remember. There's a name for it, but I can't remember the name of it. But that's where she heads. Quite visible. She may not always go outside to greet them. Sometimes it's the foyer. Sometimes she only goes back up on stage and greets the few that have been have come down and have been let to linger around the stage. But tonight, she goes out to the street.
Sorry, I was saying I would wait a couple of minutes for her to have her moment, and then I would, as is customary, I would also follow along, to go meet other patrons once she's done with them.
Are you going to go out the way she did to the line, or are you going to go through with the rest of the crowd and kind of work your way and kind of get a feel for the crowd from their perspective? What is Elise's habit?
Elise would go with the rest of the cast and visit with the patrons as her engagement for the next opera has been announced. So it would make sense for her to let her face be known separate from the crowd. Excellent. So she will go and be in front of them along with the cast and crew. Excellent.
And where will Elise intend to position herself?
She will probably look for the biggest smile on the best dressed gentleman in the crowd for her and start there.
Excellent. So mingle in the crowd as they're going through the line rather than try and stand anywhere in the line with the rest of the cast.
She'll go into the line until she makes eye contact with somebody. Excellent. And then she'd break out.
Good. Where in the line is my question, though? Does she intend to be near Lucia? Does she intend to be closer to the door before the patrons get to her, or at the end?
She'd be kind of at the end so that there's enough. Ideally, the folks who've spoken to Lucia will have had a breather and a moment so that they can focus full attention on whoever's coming next instead of trying to pull focus or compete.
Excellent. So as Elise makes her way through the side exit and along the narrow alley that leads out to the street that the cast takes to form their line to greet the patrons, what do we find the Contessa doing in the box as the curtain closes and the lights have gone down and then the lights come back up and we have the cast taking a bow before retreating behind the stage?
The Contessa takes some time, makes sure she's seen everybody who is important to be seen, or would be important for her to be seen with. And because it is the finale performance of the prima donna, then she would wait for the prima donna to return, but she's going to do it from the comfort of her box, and she would ask the box attendant for another drink. And possibly to send a drink to the prima donna when a bottle of champagne.
Okay.
To the prima donna when she appears.
Excellent. And what is the drink that the Contessa requests for herself?
I think it's late enough in the evening. Probably just just a cordial or maybe a very nice, just a very nice Italian brandy.
Okay.
Evening,
So a snifter of brandy will be on its way. As the attendant leaves and returns quickly with the brandy before leaving and heading out with the champagne. The attendant does stop and turn, and an Italian asks, "Would you like me to take it to her dressing room or to her outside?"
Let the lady have it outside. I think she might need it.
Excellent. I will take it with a glass and open it for her then. And the attendant leaves and makes their way. What else does the Contessa do from her position in the box seat?
The joy of a box, a very good box, is that you can also scan the crowd and watch everyone going. And everyone getting up to leave. It's everyone pushing and shoving. It's just it's not what she wants. She's just going to sit in white and kind of watch the crowd and kind of smile at the few people that she's seen while she's been in Venice and kind of made her name known
Mm-hmm.
among the crowd.
Excellent. Anything in particular that she's looking for, or is it mostly just to be seen?
Mostly just to be seen or seeing if there's anything interesting happening. There's always a level of what fun and interesting things are people doing.
Excellent.
Or hiding.
Let me ask you a question. Would you have let on to the attendant that you wanted to be seen this evening?
Oh, probably. I mean, she dressed for it.
Excellent.
And
they
the
will have
Contessa is
turned up the
always dressed for
lights in the box before they leave to ensure that everyone can see as the gas lanterns glow and radiate around the Contessa.
Yes. She had a new gown made. Black on black. It was a very fine affair. Matches her aesthetic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Are you wanting to apply a skill or just passively look?
I need perception. Hold on. I need to remember these things. Well, her perception is great. What is the skill? It's a diamond. Why not? She'll use this one.
Okay.
So, I did great, and then an 8 on top of it.
Okay, excellent, excellent. We've got an 8. And with a great 16. And what you find is you find quite a mix of people. While this is more of a, you would say, upper class sort of affair, opera, there are people who have spent quite a lot of money who probably don't have that much money on the regular to spend in order to attend this performance. As you look across what they're wearing, some of them you can tell have been borrowed because they don't fit quite right. They have been patched or torn and resewn. While the work may have been good, it will never be exactly the same as before. And so there's a mix throughout the crowd. You'll also find, maybe, let me see, what do I have here? No. You find a number of interesting things, but not quite as many as you would be hopeful for. Most of them are interesting people. You notice a couple of what must be middle-class merchants, maybe academics from the university, chumming next to one another in the midst of the crowd. There is a fetching woman in a pantsuit, kind of catches your eye after traveling for so long with Isolina. But it is not Isolina. Making her way from the balcony. You notice a few more, shall we say, titles in the crowd than an average evening, including some of the people in the box who you had kind of made notice of earlier. And one such would be the Doge, who is gone now and nowhere to be seen in the crowd or elsewhere from your vantage point.
I didn't know the doors snuck out back doors. That's interesting to know. I do appreciate a lady who wears a very fine pantsuit. It takes effort and talent and looks aesthetically pleasing. And the folk from the university are not that bad, for the most part.
For the most part. What will you do as your brandy comes to the halfway point, as I'm assuming you're not drinking it quickly?
Should take the time to make sure that she can... Should make sure that she could...
I can circle back if you need me to.
It's fine. There were just people who were sneaking around in the back who were being very loud, and I love my dad so much, but he's not quiet. No, she would take the time to then recline artfully, but still look very appropriate and absolute. That fine line between socially appropriate sitting and socially, indulging, where she's kind of leaning against the rail and just kind of smiling at anyone who would make eye contact as she kind of glances down among the crush.
Excellent. And when the crowd does wander off, does the Contessa also make her way to the front? Eventually?
Eventually. Probably when she finished like half the glass, she'd get up and then just kind of carry the glass with her as she kind of meanders out the door.
Excellent. So before we meander out the door, we'll go back to the crowd in the center. There were good seats. You got to see pretty well. They weren't box seats, but they were center. They were far enough back that you could see the entire stage due to the incline. And not bad as a gift, a welcome gift to Venice there, Professor Thayer.
Indeed. I would not have imagined that anyone would have gotten me balcony seats. Any seat whatsoever is fine, especially on what I assume is last minute.
Potentially. Or they may have been planning such a thing.
Just so I know, the person sitting next to me, is it Joya? Or
No.
are they just not here? Okay, they're just not here tonight. Okay.
No. Joya, whether or not Joya Lombardi is here, they have not made their presence known.
Okay.
They are the donor that brought you here, but they are not the one who accompanied you. The professor who accompanied you is one, let's see here, where is she? Maria Tipolo. Or Tipolo. It's Tiepolo. She is a professor of, how do we say? Oh, we'll call it anthropology in this case.
Okay. Well, Professor, thank you very much for this lovely evening.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. To be honest with you, this was my first time at the opera. And in an Italian opera house, too. That's something. I wasn't expecting. Well, to be fair, I don't know what I was expecting. Regardless, I did enjoy myself.
Well, we at the university weren't really expecting it either. It may have come from Lombardi, but we got an envelope only 4 days ago with your name on it and a letter saying to welcome you with a trip to the opera and 2 tickets. So they tried to figure out who would be the best to accompany you, and I volunteered as we determined that it probably would be best for you to go with someone who understood the local, how do we say, customs.
Yes. I am quite in need of a guide. These last 2 weeks have been spent mostly trying to pore over the Italian dictionary and trying to find my way around Venice.
Well, as long as you know the name of the place, just about any good gondolier can get you there. So don't be afraid to ask. Was there anything around Venice in particular that you were looking for, though?
Well, my academic mind has a few questions for the local law enforcement. But I do not think that at least not until the lecture, I don't think I would be privy to some of the information that I'm looking for. Admiring the local sites, really. I have always been fond of mansions and other opulent, display of wealth.
Are you also a connoisseur of architecture, like many who come visiting Venice?
I mean, as much as my good education would allow me.
Excellent. Is there any particular style of architecture that you wish to see in particular? Or was there a certain... I mean, we've had so many different influences, Byzantine, Ottoman. There's a lot of Gothic architecture around the city, but we also have a variety of other wonderful architectural design. It's quite the melting pot of styles throughout our fair city.
Well, I've always been interested in the Doge's palace.
Yes. It is a site.
And what was the name for it? Plaza San Marco?
Yes. There are a lot of interesting places that are in that plaza. Many of the buildings near the basilica have quite interesting architecture, as does the basilica itself.
Yes. I blanked out on the basilica.
Yes. Well, I mean, it is hard to miss when you see it in person.
I bet. I don't... I'm not much of a religious person, so... science and all that.
Fair enough. Depending on who you talk to, some say science leads them back to the Lord, and others say science explains things that religion cannot. I myself am focused mostly on people, so I spend little time debating over beliefs and more about behaviors.
Well, are you attending my lecture in a few days? Professor?
I believe so, unless, of course, I am scheduled to teach something, but last I checked, the entire department plans on being there.
Wonderful. You will not want to miss the part about the psychology of the criminal.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Chris, quick question: is the crowd clearing at this point, or does it look like I'd be better off waiting in here?
The crowd is slowly moving its way out, but it is going quite slow as people seem to be taking their time as they exit in order to be able to have, well, a moment with the prima donna at her last performance. So it's really up to you. At a certain point, your colleague is going to excuse herself as she will wish to greet the prima donna as well, if you choose to wait for the crowd to disperse further.
I would ask Professor Tipolo if is it custom in when one attends the opera to greet the prima donna in the cast?
Well, that is wholly dependent on the impression you wish to leave. If you want to be seen, there is no better way to be seen than to be in front of the prima donna. Many people are watching, not only the prima donna herself, but who's greeting her, where in line you are, all of that. If that is not the spotlight you wish to be in, and you're not looking to become a patron of the arts, then it is always good to linger toward the back and find a quiet moment to step away and make your trek back to your abode.
No, in fact, I would very much love to meet the prima donna. And take a look at who's who in the upper crust of Venice.
Excellent. So before the crowd starts to thin too much, you're going to get up with your colleague and make your way into the stream of people. Maria is a wide-set woman, and she is not shy, stepping out in front of some younger gentlemen that probably should have made way for her in the first place, and kind of, hip checks the air, not hitting anyone, but shaking the frills of her skirt in a way to make room for you to exit if you wish, as the two of you depart. Are you going to kind of take a surveil of what you see?
Yes, I would very much like to keep an eye out on everyone. Just my intent is to look for who's the one person who needs to be seen tonight.
Well, that one is fairly easy. Stands out. One of the boxes stayed lit. Quite bright, actually. And there was a woman, alone, sipping a drink, watching the crowd carefully. She seems quite keen. And very put together. There's something methodical about her demeanor, in how relaxed it is. Something that you would notice as being well practiced. Not fake, but practiced.
Is she accompanied by anyone?
Contessa?
I don't think this night. She's by herself.
Just her. Well, I mean, once the attendant left her with the glass.
I'll just ask Professor Maria. Apologies, Professor, but who is that in the box up there?
Let me ask the Contessa. Have you made any inroads with the university, or is that not a circle that you run in very often?
I mean, she may attend certain lectures when it's convenient. She likes the arts, the appreciation of the arts. And there were she's been in Venice almost 4 or 5 months now, so. And she attends all the most important gatherings, and sometimes the university has important gatherings.
So potentially.
Potentially.
As
I mean, her connections are great, so.
Well, that's why I asked where she was choosing to put her energies rather than
her energies
whether or not they would notice her.
Putting her energies anywhere that would be most important for her to be seen.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and give a little bit of boost to our professor here. And she takes a moment and kind of squints her eyes a little bit and looks up and says, I know I've seen her around before, but I'm not 100% sure. I think she is a widow on a mourning tour, if I heard correctly, traveling Europa while her estate is being settled or something to that fact. There are a number of people that she has talked to at the university, but anthropology does not seem to be one of the areas that she finds most intriguing. Arts, definitely, but she definitely has a title of some sort. Duchess, Countess, I think it was a Contessa of some sort, yes. But that's all I know.
So not local.
No.
Hmm.
I don't know when she first arrived, but she's been here at least a month or two, probably longer. I honestly spend more of my time in the library than I do in social circles.
Fair. Thank you for the information.
Not a problem. And she will swing her hips with her gait as she walks out, clearing quite the path for you to follow.
Oh, good.
As she marches toward the exit.
And I will do the same.
Excellent. As our professor exits the opera, I'm going to go back to the balcony where Ekaterina was scanning to look for any hints of Willoughby in the crowd. What is Ekaterina's base perception? Average, good, great?
Good.
Good, excellent. So that is a base of 6. As you are scouring for your contact, which you only got to see briefly before the lights went down and then you took your seat behind them. But you are looking for the bola, which had a red flower tucked, I'm sorry, not flower, feather tucked in its band. Would you like to play a card? Diamonds would be the suit to augment it. Or are you just going to casually look? Basically, how hard do you want to search?
I will casually look.
Okay. So as you scan around, you will not see Willoughby. You will, however, catch a few things that are of note. You will notice one of the boxes has stayed lit. In fact, it's a little brighter than when they turned up the lights and then put them back to normal. And there's a woman clad in a, well-fitting black gown, sipping a drink and watching the crowd. You also will notice below the balcony a man and a woman, one of which is the woman, who is a little wide set and quite take charge, makes a little bit of notice when she steps out into the aisle and makes way for their exit. She doesn't seem to do so in a intentional manner to cause a stir, but just something about her mannerisms are less than, shall we say, smooth. Her social graces may be a little lacking.
I believe, am I close enough to be able to see the face of who's sitting up in the balcony? From the box.
Probably not. From the balcony to the box where the Contessa is at, I mean, you would get a decent look if you really focused and stared, but you would not, I mean, you're across the entirety of it.
And can I make out the face of the man and the woman?
I mean, enough to be able to recognize them again, but not enough to necessarily pick them out of a police lineup, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
As long as they're in the same clothes and similar context, you'd be like, oh yeah, aren't you? Kind of thing.
Yeah, because I believe I do know the professor.
Yes.
I have talked before.
Yes, then you would recognize Edwin, who changed his name on the overlay to Edward. And I wonder if that's an alias or a typo.
It is a typo. Thank you.
And you would, it depends on where, what parts of the university you tried to connect with. You might recognize the woman, like, that she's probably someone from the university, but beyond that, I don't see Ekaterina getting too excited about human history and why humans do things, not compared to what it is that they might be inventing. So, okay. Or breakthroughs in some sort of science. So, I mean, it's up to you if you've ever run into Maria before.
If she has been at the professor's lectures, then possibly, since Ekaterina has been there.
Have you given your first lecture yet, Professor Thayer? I can't remember.
No, we said I had been in Venice for at most 3 weeks, and my lecture was due like soon after the game begins.
Gotcha.
So I'll leave it up to you if you want it to be, tomorrow or.
Okay, no, that's fine. We will set it as tomorrow. That's that sounds excellent. But yeah, so the lecture hasn't happened yet, but you definitely would have probably stopped by and used any connections you had here in Venice to make an introduction. Because interesting findings, interesting science to hear about once the lectures begin. It's a series of 6 of them.
We had established that the professor and Ekaterina had met in similar circles, and they have talked about what he was teaching, and she would be going to his lecture.
Excellent. So you would be planning on going. You guys would have met, so that one is familiar. Excellent. Thank you for that.
So I think her attention would have been turn more towards that, and she would have made her way out of her seat, and maybe to go say hello to the professor.
Excellent. So you'll make your way down, and as Professor Taipolo and Professor Thayer are getting to about where the stairs meet from the balcony down to the foyer, you will run into one another, proverbially.
Hello, Professor Thayer. How have you been?
Katerina, so good to see you. I enjoyed tonight's performance. I didn't know you were here.
Yes, I am a great patron of the arts, especially music and opera, but I was here, so I thought, why not? I didn't know you also enjoyed the opera.
That was actually my first time tonight.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
I very much so.
Quite a first show, I must say.
It amazes how performers can sing in all of these different circumstances and hold notes. I'm not gonna say I didn't think it wasn't humanly possible, but it does seem like it requires a lot of training.
I'm sure. It's humanly possible. I've seen it before.
Oh, but where are my manners, Miss Von? Was it out of game Steen or Stein?
Stein.
Stein. Miss Von Stein, meet Professor Maria Teopolo.
Why, it's a pleasure, and she'll give a very gracious bow.
And the professor will return with a sort of curtsy that can be done in, the crowd that's trying to muster its way out front, and say, "Oh, so you two know each other?
Briefly, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful. Are you going to meet the prima donna before you leave as well?"
Yes? Yes. I believe that's something that's done here. Yes, I will go and do that, of course. Why not? That's proper courtesy. Between
Excellent.
mortals, humans, these affairs. Well, anyway, Professor, your lecture's tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
I am very excited for it. I must say, as from our time talking, I have come with a few ideas that might interest you, but we'll leave that talk later.
Well, now you've piqued my curiosity.
I know I have.
How late is it, Chris? I assume like a performance like that, like opera, ends at 9 or something.
Yes, because of the slow exit, we're probably getting closer to like 9:20, 9:30, due to just the type of performance that this is, and the event that it has turned into. But yeah, I would say that's about where you are. It could take even 45 minutes to an hour to get through the line at the rate people are going, because they are quite sluggish.
Then I'll turn to Ekaterina and say, I know the hour is growing late, but now that you've got me curious, would you care for to elaborate on these ideas over a cup of coffee?
Yes, I would. Do you drink coffee at this hour?
Yes. Well, I shouldn't, but I do.
Then I'll schedule you. Yes, I do have one question. Sorry, I have 5 things on my mind, and one of them is very important. They just happened. Would you happen to have any knowledge on any crests or symbols or letterings of any nobility, royalty from Britain?
I mean, I have been to Britain a few times, but I mean, perhaps not. Heraldry is not my specialty, but you know, you go to Britain or even France once, and You are submerged in a sea of heraldry and crests and all of that. They
course.
do love their, well, less so with France now, but they do so love their monarchy.
And they do, which I find quite interesting. But I haven't been there quite some time, maybe 10, 15. Well, in the last 50 years, I would say. No, maybe 30, 20. One of the three. I'm not sure. But it has the letters, and she'll describe the crest that she saw on the envelope.
Okay. Do you actually show the crest or just describe it?
I just describe it.
Okay. What skill would you like to use to interpret the description you are given?
Well, I'm gonna have to ask you a question, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Are these people that I would have had dealings with in... I don't want to spoil things for the viewers, but...
Well, tell me what kinds of what sort of...
I mean, is it an old money family?
No.
Okay,
The
then...
description in which you see here that you're given does not seem to ring any bells when it comes to families of any note in London,
Okay.
or most of the titled moneyed families. Maybe one of the mercantile groups that mercantile families that tried to create their own heraldry, but usually they're a lot more over the top to
Yeah.
try and make up for not having the bloodline title.
Mm-hmm. And not understanding how heraldries work.
Yeah. If anything, your guess would probably be this is some sort of society, or maybe even business organization or trade federation.
Then in that case, I would go with education.
Okay. And that is a base of...
Sorry, good.
Good. And would you like to augment that?
I would like to augment that. Oh, great. I didn't
Education
put in...
is diamonds.
Yeah, sorry. I put in mantle instead of the suit. All right. Diamonds. I do not have a diamond, so I will just burn a card.
Okay.
Let's go with that. 2 of hearts.
All right. So, bumping it up to lucky number 7. You take a look at it, and it doesn't... You're pretty sure you can rule out businesses. It seems a little too esoteric when you give it quite the once over. There's a flame kind of silhouette, and within it there's this you think it might be just a standard P, but it could also be some sort of Greek or Latin letter. You're not 100% sure on that one, because it's... I don't know, they modified it. So it's either some sort of fancy P, or it's probably a Greek letter.
A fancy P. I'm afraid, Miss von Stein, that this doesn't ring any bell.
That's quite sad. I knew it was from Britain. It smelled from Britain. It tasted from Britain, but I couldn't quite make it out.
Well, I would say there's got to be a library here in Venice with perhaps work on the heraldries. What I can ascertain, however, is this does not seem to be the symbol of an actual noble family. So you could rule that out. Might be the symbol of a mercantile family, one of the up-and-comers who might have bought their nobility. Or you might be looking at a society of some sort, maybe a club.
I think that would make the most sense. But I'll have a think over a cup of coffee with you. When? Tomorrow? Now? Later?
Oh, I figured now, but if it's too late for you, I don't mind postponing it until after the lecture.
I could go now. I have no plans after.
Then it's settled then. First the prima donna, and then coffee over inventions.
Perfect. This is turning out to be quite an interesting night, I must say. I am quite enjoying myself.
I do not know what could top this off.
Oh, many things, actually.
Oh,
Excellent. And on that note, we're going to shift to Elise, who has made her way to the line toward the end and been greeting a number of patrons who have come by. Many had lingered quite a bit, quite a bit longer than normal, but it seems to be expected for such an occasion, with the prima donna, with Lucia. And you find a number of people that catch your eye, but none that seem to be just right. Not quite yet. What do you wish to take, change tactics, or are you going to continue kind of the standard until the right one comes along?
I think she would continue with the standard. After all, she doesn't mean to offend anybody, but she'd be perfectly cordial. But she would also move around from person to person until someone right came along. And if no one did, that would be perfectly fine as well. She would eventually retire when not long after Lucia did herself.
Gotcha. And as that kind of plays out, the Contessa, you're making your way to the front, or to the line. Where do you position yourself? Do you just step into line? Do you try and walk your way through and make more of an entrance? Is there something else?
I mean, the Contessa always makes an entrance, and she's been here a couple times. One of her very dear friends is a performer at this event and had introduced her to a few people around. So it's not like she's unknown by the people in this fine establishment for an opera. And without the Doge here, there really isn't anybody else of note or rank who's really above her. So
no, equals at most.
At most. And none of them are as fabulous looking as she is. So she's just going to walk up to whoever she wants to talk to.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Just skating that fine line of being socially forward and being talked about versus I have the rank and authority to do this.
And on that note, we are going to go to break. And when we return, I have been notified that due to the generosity, we have 2 upgrades to sort out after break.
Yes, thank you so much, Godless Lawyer, for these 2 upgrades. So that's 2.5 upgrades already. So stick around, everyone. Grab a drink, grab something to eat. and we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Stick around, everyone.
You have been cordially invited to a world of wonder and intrigue, of steam and invention, of magic and mysteries, where nobles wave playbills at scientists who deepen thought, nearly trip over pixies, delivering news to tinkerers beneath the stage of New Europa. Sit back and enjoy the scene as the actors act, the singers sing, and the players play out the adventures of Castle Falkenstein. You have been cordially invited to a world of wonder and intrigue, of steam and invention, of magic and mysteries, where nobles wave playbills at scientists who deepen thought, nearly trip over pixies, delivering news to tinkerers beneath the stage of New Europa. Sit back and enjoy the scene as the actors act, the singers sing, and the players play out the adventures of Castle Falkenstein. been cordially invited to a world of wonder and intrigue, of steam and invention, of magic and mysteries, where nobles wave playbills at scientists who deep in thought nearly trip over pixies delivering news to tinkerers beneath the stage of New Europa. Sit back and enjoy the scene as the actors act, the singers sing, and the players play out the adventures of Castle Falkenstein.
Hello. You're muted, Chris.
Welcome back. We hope that you're refreshed. And thanks to Godless Lawyer, we have two, revelations, as I like to call them. Divine revelations. And we're halfway towards another. And we're going to choose them by randomly selecting a card from the deck. I'm shuffling the digital deck right now. Once, twice. And I'm going to deal myself a card and then play it immediately. And the first card is Spades, which is Professor Thayer. Is our first divine revelation. And then I'm going to deal a second card. And the second goes to Hearts, which tonight is represented by Elise, our Southern Belle. So, how this works, whenever we get a divine revelation, which means that we have gotten at least $20 worth of donations or subscriptions or bits, one of the players, chosen at random, will have a divine revelation where one of their skills that is still at average, they will tell the audience or reveal to the audience something about their character that's connected to that skill, something they've experienced, some place that they've been, something that they have done in game, and it will boost to good. So, who wants to go first? Simon, since Edwin was drawn first, do you want to go first? Or shall we let
Sure.
ladies go first?
We can do ladies first.
Oh, I was going to suggest that Edwin go first so that I can have an example.
Oh,
There we
sure.
go. That works.
All right,
Have
so
Simon go first.
take something that's under good and boost it to good.
No, something under average.
Under average and boost it to good.
Yep, that is so something that is average. So you're not boosting a poor, you're taking one of your skills that's average
And
you're moving it from average to good.
oh, so it's one that ooh.
And you're going to reveal something about your character to the audience. Could be an experience, could be something that they were doing in game that we just barely got started, so that may not apply as much. Or it could be something about their past.
Well, I doubt that's suddenly becoming good at performance because they saw one opera would apply. However, there was one that I was debating whether or not I should add it to my two of them, but I'll go with the first one because it makes the most sense. The professor already mentioned, well, I mentioned it out of game, but you know the cogs were running in the professor's mind about old money families and the wealthy of Britain, and the skill that I would like to bring to good would be Exchequer.
Okay.
For the wealth that Edwin Thayer managed to acquire over the years from said families.
Any particular investments or ventures that Professor Thayer was involved with that increased their funding, or is it related to the research?
It is more, honestly, college professor doesn't pay that much, even back then. So to be able to afford his lifestyle, he needs to have another means of income. And those means would be covered by his side venture. And how, you know, how easy it is to move things around.
Are you saying he's a gigolo?
No, not this character.
Just checking.
Oops, I forgot to check Exchequer. Is it social? Yeah, it's social. Oh wow, my first actual spade card.
There you go.
Spade skill. And that's
excellent. And that was the suit that you were assigned this evening for the randomization.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So they know about kind of like a modern eBay. You get your hands on something, turn around and sell it to someone else.
Exactly, except I mostly just sell out of country.
Ah, import-export.
Yes.
Yeah. If you can get in with the right people, it's a lucrative business.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. So, Elise.
Yes. Elise.
You do
I'm
not
sorry.
have to do a heart.
Okay.
Just because Simon did a spade, that's just
Yeah,
totally
no,
an
it's
accident.
pure accident. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Elise, when she was home, had some moderate experience in games of chance, but since she's arrived in Venice, she has spent many a post-show evening with her compatriots behind stage, sharpening her skills at games of chance and her poker face, which you would think comes naturally to somebody who performs for a living, but more the rules and the nuances she has been honing. So as time has gone on, she has become better at gambling than one would expect from a woman of her background and composure.
Excellent. So, all of those evenings entertaining the games of dice and cards behind the scenes as people wind down between shows is paid off in a sense.
Yes.
Love it. All right. So that is what happens when we fill that bar. And it will continue to build. It does not have to be done in one fell swoop. That can be done a penny at a time, if necessary. And we will reach the next one and pull again when it is time. And if you've noticed, we have new frames for our Elise and our Edwin. We have 3 E's. I just noticed that. We're going to have to come up with some sort of like theorem that is C plus 3 cubed, or E cubed, instead of E equals MC squared. All right. Enough of that nonsense. Back to the game. You're out front. Ekaterina and Edwin and Maria are in line as you are making your way toward the cast. You can see them up there. There are a number of people with a presence about them that are taking up time with the prima donna. And you notice a woman clad in black. Both of you would notice her as the one who is in the box seat, as she just kind of walks alongside the line toward the front and just kind of steps in a gap in people's pace between two of the more well-to-do patrons that were stopping to see the prima donna. From your vantage point, at least, you too would notice this. She makes quite an entrance as she's kind of stepping in and saying hello. You recognize her, though. Though he's not here tonight, or they're not here tonight. Amor, they have introduced you at least once. One of the actors for the plays, the Contessa Fioravante. Yes, and that's who it is that cuts in line. Contessa, make your entrance.
She would take the moment to appropriately greet the prima donna, and she would also greet all of the rest of the cast. And you would notice that she does so by calling everybody by their first name and saying at least something nice about everyone's performance, no matter how small it was. Just, oh, looked absolutely fabulous. That high kick was wonderful. I was very impressed by the way you held that note. The dancing was
Mhm.
And Elise might be able to tell that she's not. It's that level of social discussion where she knows what she's doing and why she's doing it, but she's not being fake in her, buttering up the cast kind of thing. She actually does appreciate all of you. And she would say, "Oh, La Donna, did you get my gift? I wanted to make sure you had something to hydrate yourself in between all of these guests."
And you notice that Lucia has the glass, and it's about half full. The bottle is not in sight currently. If you do look for it, you would find it actually being held carefully as not to warm it too quickly with one's hand by the neck by one of the other cast that is near her and behind their back to not make a scene about it.
I'm glad you had something to appropriate, and I wouldn't want to take up too much of your time. We must make sure that before you leave Venice, however, we will have to get together again and we will have a much more private conversation. Oh, and this is your new ingenue?
Indeed. This is Elise.
It is my pleasure to meet you, Contessa, once again. I do not know if you remember, but my dear friend Amor introduced us once before.
Ah, yes. Amor was quite fond of you. Yes, I will have to make some time for us to actually have chat more appropriately. You seem, well, quite looking forward to see how you do on the center stage. Your debut is the next performance, correct?
That is correct, and I can only hope to live up to your expectations.
No, I'm quite sure you'll be full of abilities. The opera doesn't choose anyone poor, and Lucia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Lucia would not have endorsed you otherwise.
She is not wrong. Though the proprietor was insistent, I would not have put up with someone subpar here this many weeks.
What do proprietors know? They spend the money. But I will let you go because I understand you have so many people to greet, and I have. The night is young. The cafe sounds like a pleasant evening. Good.
Yes.
But enjoy yourself and enjoy your trip to Turkey. I hear it is quite pleasant this time of year.
Thank you.
And
I don't leave for another 2 weeks, but the next show is not until another 3, so...
So plenty of time for us to get together and have a very pleasant coffee before you get to leave. I'm
Absolutely.
sure we will have plenty of time to do so. And Elise, I look forward to seeing your performance. I am quite sure it will be very impressive.
Thank you very much, and I shall be sure to come see you after, as I hope you will be there opening night in the audience.
Oh, my box is always reserved for the opera. I do enjoy it so.
Perfect.
And she'll kind of take that moment greeting everyone else as she leaves and making sure everyone in line sees her do so.
Excellent.
And then just kind of wait at the door for one of the attendants to fetch a gondolier.
Okay. So, the Contessa has made her entrance and was seen clearly. What say you, Ekaterina and Edwin, as you make your way toward the front of the line to greet the cast?
As she's walking up to the front of the line, she mutters to herself, I think I know that woman. The one in black. Anyway, Lucia, prima donna, your performance was spectacular.
Why, thank you.
I'm sad that this is your last one, and that it has been my first time seeing you, but I could not have asked for a better show.
You are too kind. I appreciate you coming out this evening and making, well, this event better with your presence.
Oh, wait, thank you. So I wish you good luck in your future adventures then. I should not hold you up. And she'll just motion over to Edwin.
Prima donna, it was a delight to see you perform tonight.
Why, thank you.
I have to.
Mhm.
I have to be perfectly candid with you. This was my first opera, and you have set the bar very high for any other performances I might get the pleasure to see in the future.
Thank you. That is quite the compliment, and I am glad to have been your first. It is always good to make a good first impression, and what better way than La Traviata?
Are there any hanger-ons around the prima donna? Like people that aren't part of the cast. People that would just like to remain in the spotlight for a second more.
A number of the what you would say wealthier patrons had kind of done that for a while until the Contessa kind of came in and shooed them off, so to speak, with her entrance. They were holding up the line, honestly. They were the biggest issue. But once the Contessa kind of came in and made herself known, the others slowly petered off for one reason or another.
Okay.
Those who are left are anyone that didn't have the station or gumption to try and push their way through to keep the line moving.
Okay. Good to know then. Well, we won't keep you any longer, prima donna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and attention. And she will then, at this point, kind of sigh and smile and make her way down the line with the cast, and greeting people as she heads back in through the main door, going to them rather than waiting for them to come to her. She seems a little exhausted and not really willing to wait much longer before moving on. So the rest of the cast kind of follows suit, since it is kind of her, final or her finale as well. And so they follow her lead. Elise, as she does that, what do you choose to do at this point? All of your responsibilities have been taken care of. There's nothing left that you must do at the Opera House.
Now that her responsibilities are over, Elise would probably go for a walk. And she would head towards the main square in the city because that's where most of the nightlife is at this time,
Mhm.
or at least the nightlife that would be appropriate for
Mhm.
someone of her station to attend to. So she would just head out there and spend some time listening to the local singers and the gondoliers as
Mhm.
their voices echo down the canals. But she'll go for a walk.
Okay. What about our professor and intriguing connoisseur of inventions?
Well, we had a coffee date of sorts. No,
Yes.
Indeed.
there's much I wish to speak to you about. It's a little up there, as most of my ideas are, but completely plausible given the time.
I am certainly not Googling cafes in Venice.
There's definitely one on the square that you can go to.
Cafe Florian. Or
Yeah.
unless you want to support the Austrians, you go to Cafe Quadri. But why
No,
would you want to
Cafe
support the
Florian
Austrians?
on Piazza San Marco.
Mhm.
Oh wow, it's inside the National Library. Okay.
I did have to go to the library anyway.
I just need to warn you, Miss von Stein, that according to my travel papers, Cafe Florian is a $4 sign out of 5.
$4 sign. It has been quite. It's a lot more pricey than the last time I was here. That was before Britain. I don't remember how long ago that one was. Was it Deaths or Friends? I'm not sure. I'll remember later if it's important.
I need to
Anyway,
go
please
to
do
that
lead the
place.
way.
Yes. So he he will hail a gondola. I don't. And just say to the I don't know, are they called like sailors?
Gondolier.
Gondoliers.
Yeah.
Edwin will look at the gondolier and say, Piazza San Marco, por favor.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
About that time, the Contessa is also getting into a gondolier, and Elise has made her way off to the square. Where is the Contessa headed?
You're muted.
Yeah, it's a mute day, isn't it?
It is a mute day.
The Piazza San Marco per Bicchiere. Because the Cafe Florian is the place to be, and the music is quite enjoyable.
Excellent.
And
so as the sounds of Venice waft through the air, and the powerful performance by one Lucia Grimaldi kind of lingers on your senses, we will fade over to the four of you arriving at different times in the Piazza San Marco at Cafe Floria for an evening nightcap of sorts, to breathe in the soothing Mediterranean air as it cools in the night sky. I'm assuming the Contessa has or requests a table and is provided one.
Yes, a table outside, right in front of the little bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
and well, maybe the second row from the bandstand so that she's like not right up in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But she can be seen and see everyone that she wants, and then she would order a small espresso. And oh no, I can't order them yet; they don't exist. A prosecco.
Okay. Excellent. And what of our two other gondolier riding folk?
Maybe a more quieter table.
Yeah, somewhere we
speak.
can discuss, without having to shout or anything.
Okay.
So is the Contessa out front?
Yeah, she's probably like,
Yeah.
so Piazza San Marco, if you look at the piazza, if you looking at the St. Mark's Cathedral, and the piazza is like 200 or 1,000 meters, it's huge. It's like a couple football fields in size.
Mm-hmm.
About halfway down on the right-hand side as you look, the south side as you look at the Basilica de San Marco, it's is the Cafe Florian, and there's a bandstand on the outside where it's like a small bandstand, and they have like 5 or 6 rows of chairs, or no, almost 10 rows of chairs and tables outside, plus everybody who sits inside. But she's sitting like maybe the 3rd or 4th row back from the bandstand, so that she can watch everyone walking along on the piazza and make sure that she's seen, because that's half the reason she's here.
If she's making sure she's seen and she can see people coming and going, I believe since I did recognize her, I would go up to her and say my greetings. Hello, Contessa. Lucrezia Sofia Fiorandi.
See, Katerina von Stein, yes?
Yes. I can't
Oh, please.
remember.
Won't you join me and your friend? Please.
Of course. For a moment. Yes.
Moment of a drink. What were you drinking?
Just coffee.
Coffee. An espresso or just like a coffee?
Espresso.
And she would like wave at the waiter who's like right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Katerina sits down, unbuttons one button of her jacket, and adjusts her sunglasses and looks to you. You were at the Prima Donna's last performance, weren't you?
Yes, I have such a fondness for the opera, and it was, the prima donna Lucia is an acquaintance that I have met a few times, and she is such a great performer. So I had to make sure I was seen and attended her last performance.
That is right. I do always remember you every time you're in an event that I am at.
I mean, this is true, but. And how did you enjoy the performance?
Well, it's quite marvelous, really. I do enjoy music and the opera, really, when I work. So it's quite amazing to be able to see it live rather than just on a record.
Yes, the recordings are enjoyable, but they are not as good as, the live performance.
Of
Just
course.
the emotions.
You can't see their faces, the way they move. It's quite, moving.
And your charming young friends?
This is Professor Thayer.
Yes.
Contessa Lucrezia Sofia Fioravanti, I'm charmed.
Likewise.
So, how did you enjoy the performance then, Professor Thayer?
It was marvelous. It was... Well, for a first time, I like I told the prima donna after the performance, she has set the bar very high for any other opera that I might attend in the future.
I'm sure there'll be many in the future, though. As there have been in the past.
Well, it is not how can I with my current employment, opera is not necessarily the first place that I would go to entertain myself.
I can understand that. I was lucky to receive a ticket to here, especially in one of the um name just escapes my head. My seat
Balcony?
balcony. There we go. One of the balcony seats is quite intriguing. Quite intriguing, actually. Yes. Not only the performance, but the experience. But anyway,
Yes, of course. But what are you? Why have you come to Venice, Katerina?
chasing rumors here and there.
What rumors are we looking for in Venice? I remember Munich being full of fun things to discover and, sciences for you to enjoy, but Venice is Venice.
Well, you can find the biggest secret even under the smallest rock. Not that Venice is a small rock, clearly. I mean, look at the place, but
No, this is true. I have heard they're trying to do new things with the dikes and the levees to make sure it doesn't sink anymore, but hey.
maybe it might be possible in the future. 10, 20, maybe 30 years now. 50. Maybe. Well, just rumors of a scientific nature. Nothing that I think would interest you, Contessa, so I would not bore you with such things.
You could never be boring. I quite enjoy listening to your discoveries and your opinions.
Well, and maybe this might interest you too, Professor. I know we were supposed to talk about my ideas in your lectures, but I'm sure we could do that later on tonight or tomorrow. But there is little rumor about it's not really an invention. Fire is no invention, so it's always been there since the beginning of time. But fire that can be used underwater.
A fire that could be used underwater.
Mm-hmm. That's all I know.
I
On
mean-
that note, we see dear Elise approaching the square, following the sounds of music. You see the bandstand outside Cafe Florian. A number of tables and different patrons. And among them, you notice the Contessa again, sitting with a couple other faces that you recognize from the performance this evening.
As I head and wait with I don't know what the Venetian equivalent of a maitre d' is, to be seated, I look over, and if anyone makes eye contact, I do smile at the trio, but I'm intrigued by the grouping, as I did not see them all together when I did spot them in the crowd. So, but theater brings strange fellows together, that's for sure.
In fact, you would have maybe possibly remembered one of them, well, the gentleman with a different woman in the crowd, and then paired off with the woman in the dashing pantsuit, and now with the Contessa. So that might be something that you would have remembered as well.
Yeah.
The three of you, well, possibly all three of you, but definitely the Contessa, as you've been scanning the crowd, you would have noticed Elise as she made her way to the maitre d'.
Oh, the Contessa would, of course, wave her over and say, just being the Contessa, that's what she does.
Well, that and this is the next supposed prima donna for San Luca. the heir to the Grimaldi reputation.
Exactly. And she'd make sure to kind of mention that when she would have the waiter bring over another chair for the table.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't want the new prima donna to be sitting on the floor now, would we?
No, ma'am. And they would run off and return quickly with a chair. Very quickly and very gracefully. It didn't look like they were gone or like they ran off, but they definitely were swift. It looks like something they practice to be able to make their way through a crowd without knocking over anything.
And once the chair is out, Elise would gracefully wander on over and take a seat. Say, "Why, I am delighted, Contessa, to be invited to sit with you tonight." And then she would turn to the other two folks at the table. "I do not believe I have the privilege of knowing your acquaintance, but I am Elise St. Pierre. I was the understudy tonight to Lucia. I cannot read my own handwriting.
Grimaldi.
Grimaldi's at the opera."
You're the young ingenue. Announce yourself that way from now on.
Of course. I've always been taught not to press my luck or come off as boastful, but I'm no longer at home, so I must adapt to new customs, I'm sure. So, as the Contessa says, I would be the young ingenue taking over for Lucy.
Sure to meet you, Elise.
This is my very dear friend, Ekaterina von Stein. She is a wonderful, wonderful person and has a very brilliant scientific mind. And this is her new friend, Professor Edwin Thayer, who I have not yet figured out what his professorship is, and I should actually know what that question is. I'm so sorry.
Edwin would extend a hand to Elise and say, "A professor of criminology."
Oh, how fascinating. It's a pleasure to meet both of you.
Likewise.
Ekaterina will hold out her hand for Elise and kiss her hand and be like, "I'm quite delighted you were able to join us tonight."
Oh, thank you. I'm quite delighted to be here. It's a beautiful night in Venice, and there is nothing quite like the view of the square from this here spot.
That's very true. Then, please, Contessa, we must continue our talk some other time. I do not wish to bore the Jean Ingenue with talks of rumors of scientific matters.
Oh, please do continue. Do not stop on my behalf. I'll admit, the science things are not really my forte, but after a whole evening at the opera, I'm sure I would bore you to speak of it even more. So please do continue. I'm happy to just observe and enjoy the company.
Well, you're too kind, Elise. But I was telling dear Contessa and the professor that there's a rumor of some new, I guess not really project, but a new invention, maybe of sorts, possibly, not quite. But imagine fire. You know, fire, water. They don't combine, obviously. But it's a fire that can be used underwater. Now that is ingenuity.
So some
Interesting.
Ingenuity or downright magic.
I mean, I know that Greek fire existed, but I didn't know that would work underwater.
But that's it. Greek fire burned on water. If you take oxygen away, the flames should go out.
Exactly.
While there is oxygen in water, there's typically not enough to sustain a flame.
My thoughts exactly. So that is why I am here in lovely Venice with lovely people chasing a rumor.
I mean, I know that the Romans had what's the word in English? Concrete that would set underwater. So the existence of fire that would be in water. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Anyway,
As you said, Professor, it could be science or it could be magic
why not both?
or both.
Combinations of science and magic are as old as time itself, right? In this time, yes. But
No pretty little of magic, unfortunately. This is not my playground, as it were.
no.
However, these are nothing but rumors at the moment, and for all we know, it could be completely false.
I trust my sources.
Oh,
But your sources did not indicate whether it would be science or magic that you would be looking for?
The host with the most, would they?
They would have let you know that they have witnessed it, but they are uncertain as to its origin. If they had to guess, it would have to be some combination of both for where they witnessed it. There is no way that a magician would have been able to cast this spell, for it would have been too far under the surface for them to breathe or speak the words. So
To relay this information to you.
And host, would
Mhm.
I have heard of magic of this sort?
Since you've been in Venice, or something that predates your time here?
Something that predates my time here.
What's your base sorcery?
Great.
Great. Excellent. And what is your base? Let me see here. Let's go with, what is your base natural sciences?
Average.
Average. Yes. One of the things that you are familiar with is the combination of spell components that can be used without active casting, if combined in the proper order, could produce a magical effect without the caster being anywhere near it. Many of some of the older, shall we call them recipes, the wives' tales, as more modern folk may call them, were exactly this. They were packaged up and shared with different villagers across the region, and they take them home and then would apply them either to wounds or fevers or different emotions that they were struggling with, and it would have an effect. Something similar could be done with just about any magical effect. However, what is it that's combining it? What is it that's igniting it? Because every circumstance that you know of, it has some sort of ritualistic order or component for the components to be activated in order for the power to be released.
Okay. So I turn to Ekaterina and say, well, back home, I have heard old wives' tales and the like of magic being delivered apart from the caster. if all the right components were placed in the right spot, they could be activated at a later time without the caster being present. So perhaps that might be a part of how, if such an effect were to be magical, that combination could occur.
Good. No, that's an interesting bit. And you see her kind of take out a small notebook from her jacket pocket, write something down quickly, shut it, and then put it back. Well, now I have much to think about tonight. On a different note, Contessa,
Yes.
you wouldn't happen to be one familiar with secret societies, would you?
I mean, I know many people in many different levels of society. But I would need to know a little bit more about what I'm supposed to be knowing.
Now, I've heard you're quite the rumor gatherer.
Rumors, or, it's important for one to know everything there is to know about the place when one is a widow traveling alone. Wouldn't do to upset the wrong people, or make the wrong enemies, or, attract the wrong unwanted criminal attention.
Correct. But, maybe, I know the professor was able to give me some sort of whereabouts, and who knows, maybe dear Liz here, if she had knowledge about this rumor, maybe about this. Alice left a note. Probably shouldn't be sharing it with too many people, but hey, here we are. I don't know what I'm getting into. It's quite intriguing, really. And she'll take the letter and she'll rip off the seal from the letter. She won't show the card or the key or anything. And then just put it on the table and slide it to the Contessa.
So just the seal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you recognize it right away. It doesn't take you but a second. You've seen that mark before.
I'm going to actually ask my dear host of the most to remind me which of the magic secret societies I know it to be, because I'm blanking.
None of the magic secret societies.
Oh no, it's
the Promethean Society.
Oh, the Prometheans.
The same symbol that was on the bartender's forearm.
Yes.
The same symbol that was on the ring that Father Vladimir wore. And the business cards.
And the business cards. The minute you slide that onto the table, she just looks at it, looks at you, looks at it, and goes, yes, I'm very familiar with the individuals who ascribe this particular seal. Some of them are almost to be qualified as friends. One or two of them are individuals who I am firmly of the opinion are so rude. They are so rude. I cannot stand them.
That's really got under your skin, Contessa.
You wouldn't happen to have a signature on that piece on the letter. I don't want to actually read it. It's not my letter. I don't care. But just if you had a signature on it, I could tell you whether or not it's the one that are nice or the ones that are not nice.
No signature.
Signature.
Well, I can tell you that it belongs to the Promethean Society, a bunch of people who believe that they actually, well, let me rephrase that. They attempt to do good. Some of them do it better than others.
So I should not be worried that I'm trying to be recruited or taken into something that is not of the right morality of the time.
Well, let's put it this way. The Promethean Society believes that they can stop world crime by just, circumnavigating the police, the governments, everyone and everyone.
I mean, you can stop some crime, but not all.
Yes, and some of them are very nice, but again, it's a society, so some of them may not be as good.
So, vigilantes.
I would possibly use that term. I would also occasionally use the term ne'er-do-well so-and-sos who ascribe above their station and are so annoying because they don't want to have a conversation with a person. They want to do the secret thing where they want to send you a little letter or drop a little card in your little shirt pocket, or they're going to do, oh my God.
Oh, that's the thing they did with me.
Okay. The current leader of the Promethean Society is a gentleman from England named Mark Talbot?
Benjamin Talbot.
Benjamin Talbot.
Well, the first name has changed multiple times, but
Yes.
Talbot has always been the same.
I knew him as Mark, and then I knew him as Benjamin. He changes his name all the time. But Talbot is the thing that he, ascribes to be. He pretends to be as great as Sherlock Holmes. Whatever, I don't care. Father Vladimir Korsakov. Very good individual. Also a very good individual to know if you happen to need medical attention. He is a very good physician and touched with a little bit of magical abilities.
Okay.
And as a very pleasant individual, very nice to talk to. The bartender.
Oh, the bartender. Yes.
The bartender's name was Marcus? No.
No.
I don't have that note in front of me.
I just forgot the bartender's name. How dare I do that?
Oh boy.
It starts with a T. It started with a T.
It wasn't Thomas.
No, it wasn't Thomas.
We
Is
have
Talbot?
the father?
Yeah, Father Korsakov. Talbot, who is the head of the organization.
Yeah.
And the bartender.
The bartender. I'm getting back. Tristan.
There we go. I knew it started with a T.
Yep.
And Tristan, who, by the way, is a very pleasant individual, very helpful, very handy with a weapon, and can make a perfect drink. And remembers your drink order all the time.
That's convenient.
Frequently. I will say that on the whole, they believe that they are doing good things. The problem is that when certain individuals like Talbot believe that they are doing good things and that they have no need for authority, some people might, he might on accident cause an entire portion of the city to burn down to deal with a criminal escaping.
Isn't that counterintuitive to what they're trying to do?
That's why I believe that he is not necessarily as helpful as he claims to be.
Seems a tad excessive.
Burning a whole city down, that seems quite barbaric.
And
seems like this Promethean society would be in need of my knowledge if they wanted to actually apprehend criminals the proper way.
But they didn't contact you now, did they, Professor?
No, they did not, which means that they have no intention of changing their methods.
Nope.
I wonder what they want with me.
Well, you're a very intelligent individual. I'm sure that they, you have multiple reasons why they would wish to discuss things with you.
Maybe. Well, are we all interested in this?
I mean, I'm always nosy. I want to know everything.
You, Professor?
As far as I'm concerned, world-traveling vigilantes are right up my alley.
And you, Miss Elise?
Well, the Contessa did mention that one of the gentlemen had an affinity for healing and magic, and that has always been something I love to know more about.
He also has an affinity for time. And then saying that, the Contessa would then stop, look around, and make sure that everyone is still moving around them.
Yes, at this moment, nobody seems frozen in time.
Okay, good. But it's very obvious when she does that, though.
Katarina sits back.
On that note, we are going to have time run out on this session. And we will pick up next time at the cafe with possibly the entrance of another player who will bring additional intrigue to our fire beneath the surface of Venice as we explore more mysteries in the adventures of Castle Falkenstein. My name is Chris Geary. I have been your host for the evening. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Geary. You can find me here on Wandering DM every Friday for Cyberpunk Red and every Monday for Castle Falkenstein. You can also reach out to me on Twitter to learn more about Omens Rising, a rules light, narrative heavy game in which a group of people are putting together, myself being one of them. It is heavily inspired by JRPGs and some anime as well. But yeah, come check us out and we can geek out about game stuff. And I'm going to send this on over to Simon and see who Simon says goes next.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you to all of you who hung out in chat. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the follows. Thank you to everyone watching the VOD on YouTube. It's always greatly appreciated to know that we have fans on the other platform. Before I do the ending speech and all that, I would just like to go around the table and ask our cast, who are you? Where can we find you? What do you have going on in your lives? This is the time to plug every project that you have that you would like to get eyes on. We'll start with Adriana and then we'll move clockwise, so reverse order from our introductions.
Hi everyone, like Simon said, my name's Adriana, playing Ekaterina von Stein here. You can also find me on Twitter at AlysaVamp with 2 P's. My main show where you can find me is Saturday nights at 8 p.m. over at Plot Hunters. We're an all POC, all LGBTQ plus show, so if you like supporting those spaces, come find us. We're currently starting Horde of the Dragon Queen, so that's gonna be fun. You can also find me every other Saturday at 4:30 p.m. EST at Valdrian's channel playing Dragon Age. So if you like Dragon Age but haven't played the TTRPG and always want to learn, our GM does a great job at teaching you the rules as we play because all the players are new to the game. And if you want to see me in the DM seat, you can find me Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Hype Goblin at 10 a.m. EST, doing a very RP heavy, improv heavy homebrew world with it's loosely D&D because we use some of the rules, but it's mostly just improv and RP and a little bit of fighting sprinkled here and there. But anything else, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll be tweeting out anything I do when it's happening, so check me out there.
Cool, thank you.
Did I miss it? Did you also plug the podcast with Pro?
Oh, yes, I keep forgetting that because it just came out. But there is a podcast that I have with Pro Restarter. It's called Shadow of Arcanum. It's really, really fun. It is set in Taldore, but it's with rules of Shadow of the Demon Lord. It's really cool. It's really dramatic. If you've ever seen anything done by a Pro Restarter, you know it's dramatic, emotional, and funny. So please check it out. The first 2 episodes are already out. You can find us on Spotify, and I think somewhere else. I can't remember right now, but follow Pro Restarter and links are there. Or if you follow me, I also retweet the links. But it's really fun. I'm really excited.
Okay. And I'm Pooja. You can find me on Twitter at Pooja, on Instagram, and I finally changed my Twitch handle to match. It's Poojaberwalkie. But I'm currently in between sessions, but you can generally find me on a couple of shows on Manapot Studios. I will be coming up very soon in a Vampire the Masquerade campaign set in medieval Constantinople. And otherwise, I'm in a couple of Tuesdays from now, and I will announce on the show when that's going to be. I'll be back in Flights of Fandom, which is a game in which we take back fandoms from their authors and make them what we want to see them as. So in the past, we've reclaimed Harry Potter for the queer community. We have recently done a Arkham Asylum henchman game that was an adaptation of Honey Heist, and we do lots of other fun short programs. So I will let y'all know when that's back on air. But until then, I will be here on Mondays.
And Deirdre.
Oh, that's me. Hi, all. You know me. I'm at Deirdre on Twitter or Praxagorth as me Euphoria. You see me around on Twitch. And you can find me most Tuesdays through Fridays on my channel at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. As I lose my headphone, it's okay. Working with what we call recitations and digressions. We're working our way through the Aeneid, and we're finishing book 11 and 12 this week. We'll figure out what we do next. You can also find me on Thursday here for Sisterhood of the Magical Blades, and then Friday for more Cyberpunk with Chris, because Chris is great. Vegas is fun. And then back here on Monday. And yeah, check my Twitter because I was supposed where I'm going to be, all the fun things I get to do, all the fun people I get to hang out with. I also have right now a sale going on my itch page if you would like to check those out. And so wrote a whole bunch of historical themed Descended from the Queen games, from ancient Rome to pirates to World War I. And they're all on sale. So check them out. Have fun, and I will check you next time. And there might be more fun things I get to talk about soon. That'll be great.
Awesome. And since he's not here, I want to throw a plug out there for Experience Points, which is the group that Kenny is a part of with their podcast as well as actual plays. So check them out, Experience Points.
Thank you so much, Adriana, Pooja, Deirdre, Chris, for the game. Thank you for coming to play. This is the first time I play with both you, Adriana, and Pooja. So that was awesome, and I can't wait for next Monday. In the meantime, you can find us here on Thursday for Sisterhood, the penultimate episode of Sisterhood of the Magical Blade, our magical girl-inspired campaign, and on Friday for some more Cyberpunk Red. And then Saturday, there won't be a pirate game this Saturday. We'll have something special that I'm not going to talk about yet for next week. And with Gen Con coming soon, our schedule is going to be changing a little bit. I don't think we're going to have to change the day or time for Castle Falkenstein, so we should be here on Monday. But we might have to postpone Cyberpunk due to other panels, Cyberpunk-related stuff, that will occur at the same time. Otherwise, you can always check my Patreon. Wandering DM now has a Patreon. You can check it out at patreon.com/wanderingdm. If you're interested, I am sweating in this vest, so I'm not going to go in the whole speech right now, but check it out. It's awesome. And if you want to be part of a vibrant community and help build up said community with us, that's something you should definitely look into.
And depending on the tier, he does workshops.
Yes, thank you. We have workshops. It is not too late if you pledge now. Our next workshop is going to be on July 25th. So if you are interested, both the GM and player workshops are going to be on July 25th, and then our one-on-one sessions are done upon your, I was going to say upon request, but it's according to your schedule, and we try to find free time